Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're looking at a story that, honestly, I totally thought was an epic myth, until I actually looked at the facts. I want you to picture a dog so ancient and so incredibly powerful that it hasn't just lived alongside humans, but has literally guarded mountain villages for millennia. We're talking about a creature that has actively protected its people from some of the most dangerous predators on the planet. This is the unbelievable story of the Tibetan Mastiff and how it transformed over centuries from a rugged mountain sentinel into an absolute global icon. Which brings us to the absolutely staggering question we're exploring today. What on earth makes a single dog worth $1.5 million? I mean, that is a jaw-dropping figure, right? Well, the answer isn't just about modern luxury or purebred status. To really wrap our heads around this, we have to trace this dog's epic hero's journey, starting all the way up in the highest peaks of the world, down into the modern marketplace. We're going to break down exactly how this happened. So, origins in the Himalayas, a hero born in ice. All right, let's dive into this. To really understand this dog, we have to travel to the freezing, totally unforgiving elevations of Tibet, Nepal, Bhutan, northern India, and western China. And you have to understand, this wasn't just a geographical location. It was a crucible. It was this intensely icy, harsh environment where our hero was essentially forged. And this history goes way, way back. The functional origin of the Tibetan Mastiff dates back a staggering 2,000 years. And some experts think they could be even older than that. Think about that for a second. While a lot of the dog breeds we recognize today are pretty recent creations, the Tibetan Mastiff is truly one of the oldest, most legendary breeds on Earth. They basically walked right out of ancient history and into our present day. Just think about how brutal that environment is. Surviving out there 2 millennia ago was no joke. We're talking freezing winters where the temperatures absolutely plummet. Food was incredibly scarce. And on top of all that, nomadic shepherds were under constant threat from predators going after their livestock. To survive this, these people didn't just need a pet, they desperately needed a fearless protector. The environment demanded a guardian, and the Tibetan Mastiff answered the call. Which brings us to the ultimate guardian, facing the apex predators. These nomadic shepherds and villagers completely relied on these animals. They were protecting entire livelihoods, the sheep, the goats, the yaks, and most importantly, the mountain families themselves. And the sheer scale of the danger here is just wild. We are talking wolves, bears, and literally snow leopards. I mean, I don't know about you, but my dog gets terrified of the vacuum cleaner. Imagine relying on your dog to step directly between your family's only food source and a charging bear or a stalking snow leopard. The unmatched bravery it takes for a dog to just stand its ground against apex predators is absolutely astounding. What's really fascinating, though, is how they actually operated. It was a completely different ballgame depending on the time of day. During the daytime, their duties were pretty passive. They'd rest, recover their energy, and just keep a casual, lazy watch over the area. But the second the sun went down, they flipped a switch. Their night duties meant they had to be hyper-vigilant. They actively patrolled the farms and villages, listening intently for the absolute slightest sign of danger out in the pitch black. And if an intruder came, they didn't run. They barked with everything they had to warn the owners, and they stood their ground. That kind of nighttime courage definitely didn't go unnoticed. It earned them the deep, unwavering trust of generations of mountain families. Honestly, it's no surprise that local legends started to pop up about them. Just look at this quote. They were described as fearless guardians with the heart of a lion. They completely transcended being just working animals. They became these mythical figures, deeply woven right into the cultural fabric of the Himalayas. Moving on to monasteries to royal courts. The legend spreads. So let's look at how their role elevated way beyond just protecting livestock. As the legend of the Tibetan Mastiff spread, they started moving from those rugged pastures to guarding the secret gates of Buddhist monasteries, and eventually making their way all the way to royal courts. Buddhist monks realized pretty quickly how valuable these massive dogs were, so they started keeping them to guard temple gates and protect their most sacred, valuable sites. Just imagine trekking through a freezing mountain pass and suddenly hearing this deep, booming bark echoing all around you. It was nature's ultimate alarm system. That sound was an unavoidable warning to anyone approaching that the holy monastery was fiercely protected. For the monks, these dogs became living, breathing symbols of strength and loyalty. If we trace that journey forward, you start with those Himalayan origins over 2,000 years ago, right? And they basically remained a total secret from the rest of the world for centuries. It wasn't until the 1800s that explorers finally started bringing crazy stories of these giant dogs back to Europe. Then, talk about a major status upgrade. In 1847, one of the very first recorded Tibetan Mastiffs in Britain was actually given as a royal gift to Queen Victoria herself. From there, their sheer size and majestic look completely captivated dog lovers, eventually spreading to North America until today, where they're globally recognized by major kennel clubs everywhere.
And that brings us to the climax here, the million-dollar dog, ancient history meets modern economics. We've seen this incredible, epic journey, but how exactly does a monastery guard dog become this highly prized luxury item in the modern world? Well, it really comes down to a perfect storm: their ancient history, incredibly limited breeding, and of course, their undeniably striking appearance.
So, here's that crucial number again. Puppies from exceptional bloodlines regularly go for thousands of dollars depending on the country. But the absolute peak of this market, it happened when one famous Tibetan Mastiff reportedly sold for around 1.5 million US dollars. It made massive headlines all over the globe. Now, obviously not every single Mastiff costs that much, but that one sale firmly cemented the breed's reputation as one of the most expensive dogs in the entire world. But when you really step back and look at the whole picture, that insane valuation starts to make a weird kind of sense. It's totally justified by the dog's unparalleled mythos. You aren't just looking at a pet, you're looking at a creature defined by bravery, loyalty, and literal centuries of service to the people who depended on it for survival. From fighting off snow leopards in the icy mountains to resting at the feet of queens, and now serving as this elite global status symbol, it's a completely unique, totally fascinating journey. But it definitely leaves us with a fascinating final question. We know the history, we know the legendary status, but in today's modern market, exactly what specific, tangible factors determine this massive price tag? What makes one puppy worth a few thousand and another worth over $1 million? That is a brilliant economic mystery, and it's exactly what we'll be diving into in our next explainer. Thank you so much for joining me to explore the epic origins of the Tibetan Mastiff. Keep learning, and I'll